Staying dry and clear across much of Leinster and Munster tonight. However, it'll be cloudier elsewhere, with patchy rain becoming heavier and more persistent towards morning in West Ulster and in Connacht. Mostly moderate southerly breezes, mild tonight, with temperatures not falling below 11 to 14 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, for an effortless finish to your day. New Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
This is News Talk.
All right, you're welcome along. It is Thursdays Off the Ball. Nathan with you until 10 o'clock. Rory McIlroy tied for the lead on the opening day of the US Open. We'll keep a very close on that throughout the evening. Nathan Collins, well, he's had quite the international break. A superstar in the making. So we have got his father, Dave, coming up on the football show tonight. He was a fine footballer in his own right. Spent time at Liverpool as a youngster and comes from a real proud footballing family. So we're going to chat to Dave about his career and also about the making of Nathan Collins, and maybe a little hint as to what happens next. So that coming up on the football show. John Giles, as always, at 7:30, putting a wrap on the international break. And after 8 o'clock, we have James O'Connor and Sarah O'Donovan looking ahead to the weekend's All-Ireland hurling quarter-finals. 53106 is the text number, at Off the Ball on social media. It's a beautiful sunny evening out in Dublin. Hope it's cracking wherever you are. Joe Molloy on the north side, is it all right?
It is just fine, Nathan. How you doing?
Richie McCormack. Richie McCormack's a too hot kind of guy.
Am I?
Is it too hot, Richie? Is it too hot?
I'm all right. I'm all right with this. Like, you're bearing in mind, like, I was away in Turkey up until a couple of weeks ago and was basking in 30 odd degree heat. So I'm missing.
You're missing
10,
so
15 degrees here that I need more.
You're comfortable in this. So it's promised to be a cracking few days. And we got the US Open. Can't leave the house though, Joe. Can't leave the house. Just got to watch Rory McIlroy cruise on through now to his 5th major championship. What could possibly go wrong?
He's looking good. He's looking very good. Hold a lot of tricky putts for par, which is in many respects just what the US Open is about. They can't be avoided, those putts, and they're often the kind of putts that make us a bit nervous if we're watching Rory and not so sure about his putting, but he made a lot of very, very big putts today and some fist pumps to match, and played a lot of good golf. And we've talked about it. He's coming into this tournament playing probably as consistent golf over the course of several months as he has in a very, very long time, and has had a lot of top tens and had his Sunday at the Masters and started off the PGA very well and fell away a touch. And you know, that was often his issue. Could he get off to a reasonable start? Could he get himself into a tournament? Well, he more than has. Had the best of the conditions this morning, akin to the PGA last time out, gotten the favourable side of the draw then. So similar story this morning. Shane Lowry's just gone out and maybe the slightly windier stuff, but it's what we always say with McIlroy, isn't it? Just stay in it on the first day, and he looked good. Long way to go.
Yeah, his Thursday wobbles are most certainly gone. He led after the first round of the PGA. Now he's tied for the lead in the first round of the US Open. We just don't want there to be... There was a Friday thing for a while, wasn't there? And then there was a final round thing. Like, is a Saturday thing coming? But I think there's such goodwill towards him at the moment because of what's going on in the world of golf and the split between Live Golf and the PGA Tour. And, you know, it feels that Rory has... he's on the right side of history right now.
Well, and the commentators will let you know all about that. I mean, if you're indulging in a drinking game of sorts, you can certainly do something along the lines of every time they mention that Rory, you know, has been such a great ambassador for the game and one of the good guys, Nathan. So they're making a point of saying that at every turn. I don't know what they'll say when Mickelson's playing. I mean, do they play like the Darth Vader music? I don't know what the...
Phil just teed off, and apparently there weren't too many boos or anything. It was...
He won't get booed. He won't get booed. Look, he's the people's champion. He's an all-American.
Is he still?
There's
is he
no
still?
chance.
Really?
Well, I mean, he's not. But you know, he's not going to get booed. I don't think. I'd be amazed. Like, Boston fans have a reputation. Maybe some get boozed up. I suppose the thing about golf is it doesn't take huge numbers to create a bit of a circus. Certainly, Peter Lowry talking to us yesterday on the preview pod was ever so slightly concerned that Lowry had been drawn with Mickelson and Westhuizen, two of the live golf types. So he was slightly worried that it could turn into a bit of a circus, you know, and Larry could get sucked into that whole ether. So far so good. And it seems, you know, you wonder to what extent people are looking at the Mickelson thing and feeling, man, he's taken a lot of heat. I mean, maybe he's had enough. Maybe there's a degree of... Maybe
bit
we're
of
at the
sympathy for
backlash
Phil?
to the backlash. Yeah, maybe there is a bit of sympathy to Phil. Who knows?
Watch along coming Sunday afternoon, Richie. I'm sure you'll be tuning in regardless of the weather for all our Golf Weekly Patreons. So get on to otbsports.com/Golf Weekly. We're all in on Nathan Collins, I think it's fair to say, Richie.
Yeah, 100%.
All in.
He's the future of Irish defending. He's the future of Irish football. He's a total footballer. I think he'd probably fit into the Holland 74 side quite spectacularly. So
fair enough.
We're all in.
We're all in. And we got his dad on the show tonight.
Wow.
So the Collins family are very well known in Irish football circles. His dad Dave was at Liverpool as a 16, 17-year-old around sort of 87, 88 at a time when Liverpool had that great team. Didn't quite make it at Liverpool, never played for the senior team. Was there for 3-4 years, went off, played in the lower divisions across England, came back to the League of Ireland. Nathan's uncle Eamon would be very well known in League of Ireland circles from his time with Pats and with Brian Kerr, and also again had a long period of time, I think from a very young age, playing top flight football in England, and he's now his agent. So we're going to chat to Dave. Just really interesting. We recorded it earlier, ended up spending about 40 minutes just talking about how you go from being that sort of 7-8-year-old, highly motivated, brilliantly talented, to actually fulfilling that and going and performing for your country. And listen, it's not every kid. He was playing with his older brother who was 4 years older at Cherry Orchard and hanging around all the training sessions, and very quickly started not to look that out of place among players 4 years older than him, but just insanely motivated. So his dad worked in Dublin, and they're from out in Leixlip, but he was playing with Cherry Orchard, and I think they'd get to Ballyfermot, and sometimes dad would be stuck at work or coming home late, and he'd ring Nathan and say, listen, I'm probably going to be a little bit late. Nathan wouldn't have that, so he'd hop on the bus at sort of 9-10 and meet him halfway so he wouldn't be late for training. Or he'd just start walking if his dad wasn't ready, and then would analyse everything when they were on their way home. So when he started hooking up with the DDSL squads and his dad was managing the Cherry Orchard team of, say, under 12, under 13, questioning everything his dad was doing around coaching and comparing it to what they were doing with the DDSL team, and listen, are we going about things the right way? Am I working on my technique properly? Am I playing enough off my left foot, off my right foot? Everything we heard, I think, over the course of that half an hour, 40 minutes, Richie, suggests this guy, believe the hype.
Yeah, that's what you want really in not just a footballer, in a sports person who is elevated to that level pretty quickly, going from Stoke onto Burnley for a massive fee. We can't forget last year. Took him a while for Sean Dyche to bet him into first team proceedings over there. But what you want in a sports person like Collins is a head and the shoulders. Once you have that and you're able to marry that with no small degree of talent, then you're setting a course that could provide big things for you in your career. And all indications are that Collins does have that in his locker to go further than Burnley to maybe progress to a top league, maybe in England, maybe somewhere else. But he's got a composure about him. He's got pace. He's got an ability to deal with deal with attackers. It's all there. We should caveat that with he's still pretty young and there's still a lot of road to travel for him. But for somebody of his age and somebody of his stature in international football, for him to put in performances like he did over the course of the last 2 weeks as a neophyte to international football is quite incredible. Yeah,
I'm sure some people will feel it's probably a little bit over the top, spending half an hour talking to his dad about how he got to this level. But it was just so interesting, Joe, listening to that path. And it does seem as though a move is probably more likely than not at this stage. It seems the momentum of the last couple of weeks may shift things now. Vincent Kompany may have very different ideas in Burnley, and certainly his dad said that he's so focused. He came back and was on the first flight back out of Ireland on Wednesday for a week and said, listen, don't be hassling me. I don't want to hear anything about Burnley or what might happen. I just need a week to switch off. And his dad didn't even see the goal. He couldn't go to the game because he wanted, whatever way the flights work, he wanted to be in Ireland when Nathan was home for the few hours, and just couldn't deal with the stress of watching the game, so went for a walk. The phone is buzzing. Knew something had happened. Wasn't quite sure was it good or bad. Was hoping it was good. And when he gets home, Nathan's mother is very excited, as you can imagine. So I didn't get to see it live, but I'd say he's watched it a few times since.
Amazing. So can't watch because of nerves.
Yeah.
God.
Now he goes to as many games as he possibly can, but this one just didn't work out. But if he's not at the match and can't see absolutely everything that's happening, just can't do it.
The fear as your phone is buzzing.
Oh no.
My God, he's been sent off, hasn't he? What's
2 minutes
he done?
in. Short back pass. What have you done? Yeah, the
God,
stress.
that's amazing. That's great. Yeah, what he does next can be very fascinating. Like, there must be a temptation under Vincent Kompany to hang around for a year maybe. That's not a bad person potentially to work under. Although if Premier League club comes looking, then I guess you go while the going's good. Plenty of competition, that back three. What is the Irish back three come Euro 2024 when we're storming through to the knockout stages?
I'm not sure you can write Shane Duffy off, because again, so much can happen in terms of the club game. You would expect that Shane Duffy this summer will leave Brighton, having come back in and fallen off the radar again. So he will go to either another Premier League club or a good Championship team, and should, you would hope, re-emerge in September with 10 games under his belt and a bit of sharpness and a bit more comfortable at playing it out at the back. Everyone likes to think we'll have a Nathan Collins in the middle, Darryl Shea on the left, Andrew Bomadele on the right, but it's never been that straightforward. But the amount of options that are there, like Darragh Lenihan came in the last night and was rock solid and has been around the squad for a long time, and in 2 years' time, look at how quickly these players have developed. So,
and excellent yellow card from Darragh Lenihan the other weekend. I mean, not discussed enough.
Yeah, he waited a while for his opportunity and made sure he was going to leave his mark. Yeah, I think it's fair to say.
No, I think Shane Duffy will be near impossible to dislodge. How do you even just from set pieces alone, and still a brilliant defender, and it's in both boxes where he invariably seems to find himself getting ahead to the ball ahead of everybody else. The
question mark is over on Bomadele for me.
One.
Shane Duffy would be like there's a decent case to say Nathan Collins plays in the centre. Like, all going well, Nathan Collins plays in the centre and Shane Duffy might be the one to drop out. But the big question mark for me is over Andrew Bomadele, because he's been out for this long with a back injury. He really needs a good pre-season, a good start to the season, because if you don't get back in the starting 11 at Norwich next season, back in the Championship, then he can be in for a bit of a tough time. I know he's gotten the contract. I know he's gotten a bit of a boost in that regard, that there is security there from at Norwich and that he is wanted and they do see long-term things in him. But back injury is a strange thing, and he's had a couple of injuries and he's still pretty young. You just don't want them to rack up.
No, of course. And can I just jump in here for a second and defend John Egan's honour? Does the man not deserve a mention?
Yeah, there's a lot of options there. So, there's also going to be injuries as well. Lads, calm down. You're getting nearly as bad as the England pundits or Mayo heads. Well, maybe that's where the connection is. Just let the lad play football, see how he gets on. He's not the next Irish Pele. Relax the cax, Beardy Dave.
We haven't tried him up front yet.
I don't think us talking about Nathan Collins is really going to affect how his career goes over the next couple of years somehow. I think the fans following Phil are Saudi-backed, says Owen, which will be a twist if they are paying supporters to go in and cheer loudly for Phil.
I wouldn't put it past them.
You wouldn't rule it out right now. Richie, bring us up to date then. What exactly is going on at Brookline?
Yeah, Rory McIlroy has a share of the clubhouse lead following his opening round at the US Open. He shot a 3 under par 67 at Brookline today. It could have been even better if not for a wayward approach shot at his final hole, the 9th, that led to a bogey. McIlroy shares the lead with England's Callum Tarran and the Swede David Lingmerth. Out on course at the moment, Shane Lowry is level par through his first 2 holes, and Seamus Power has just bogeyed the third to drop back to 1 over par. Larry playing alongside 2 live golf recruits in Phil Mickelson and Louis Oosthuizen. They've been allowed to play this week despite signing up to the Saudi-funded tour. But speaking ahead of this year's Open, USGA CEO Mike Hwan says it will likely become more difficult for live golf conscripts to play at the US Open in future.
Well, first off, I just answered the question is, could I foresee a day? Yeah, I could foresee a day. Do I know what that day looks like? I don't. To be honest with you, what we're talking about was different 2 years ago, and it was different 2 months ago than it is today. So, we've been doing this for 127 years. So I think the three of us and everybody else that we work with need to take a long-term view of this and see kind of where these things go. So we're not, it's not going to be a knee-jerk reaction to kind of what we do. But the question was, could you envision a day where it'd be harder for, for some folks doing different things to get into a U.S. Open? I could. Will that be true? I don't know, but I can definitely foresee that day.
Yeah, somewhat sitting on the fence, but I think it's fair enough. Nobody does quite know how this is going to develop over the next year. So US Open will just bide their time. Richie, the FAI have made really important appointment, and Mark Canham confirmed as root doctor's replacement.
Yeah, a couple of important appointments from the FAI today. But as you say, the Englishman Mark Canham is the new director of football with the association. The former Bournemouth midfielder has spent the last 9 years working with the English Premier League, most recently as their director of coaching. Among Canham's new duties will be leading the review of all aspects of current FAI football systems, approaches and programmes, and how a future football pyramid might look in the country. Meanwhile, the former Brighton Academy manager John Morling will take up a role of senior football consultant with the FAI. His previous experience in charge of underage teams with Ireland.
Callum's name had been thrown around quite a bit over the last couple of months around this. It was when Jonathan Hill came out saying he felt it should be an Irish person running Irish football that a lot of people wondered what way it was going to develop, but maybe having John Morling in there as the senior football consultant just answers that question. But listen, it's a big role. Rude Doctor, for good or bad, whatever way people want to look at it, left and made a big impact on Irish football.
Yeah, so it's interesting there. Richie says that Cannam's going to lead a review of all aspects of the current FAI football system, and I guess that makes sense. Come in and let's have a review and let's see where we are. And you know, you can't really fault that. Like at all times, I just have this nagging sense of wasted time. We've wasted the last decade plus, where virtually no money has been put into the Irish system, and the development of players again is just stagnated. I mean, it's amazing we have this generation coming through, and in some ways, when you think of the neglect which has gone on. So you hope two things. You hope the review doesn't take forever, and you hope it's concrete, and ideally would be published as well. I think that might help in stage 2, which has always been the difficult part, which is getting everybody on board to make the recommended changes, and that is where World War III tends to break out too often. So good luck to him. He will need to know his football, and he'll need diplomatic skills, and I suspect Rude Doctor would have a thing or two to tell him about all that. Yeah.
Leinster have made a big signing, Richie.
Yeah, Leinster head coach Leo Cullen says new signing Charlie Ngatai will add much needed experience to their squad. The 31-year-old former All Black joins from Lyon. Ngatai won a solitary New Zealand cap back in 2015 against Samoa, and he was capped by the Maori All Blacks on 12 different occasions.
When I read that in your script, I was wondering, was it in a sarcastic voice that he said will add much needed experience? Are Leinster not one of the most experienced squads around?
I think they have had a spate of retirements and departures over the course of the summer, is what Cullen was alluding to there.
Okay, so with Toner and Cronin
with
going.
a bit of international, yeah, exactly. They want a bit of international experience going back in there into the back line.
All right, 53106, the text number if you want to get in touch. The World Power Swimming Championships continuing.
Yeah, it's been a good week so far for Ireland. 3 bronzes in the bag. Nicole Turner owns one of those, and she races in her second final of the week in the next 20 minutes or so. The Port Harrington swimmer is drawn in lane 2 for the final of the women's 50-metre freestyle S6, having posted the 5th fastest time in the heats. That is in the pool just after 7:30. 13 minutes exactly is when you can expect that one to go down. Barry McClements, meanwhile, had to content himself with 7th place in this evening's final of the men's 400-metre freestyle S9.
Tailteann Cup semi-finals on this weekend. They're going to get Sunday afternoon to be centre stage. Offaly involved in them. They're local derby against Westmeath, but really bad injury blow for them ahead of the game.
Yeah, desperate. The Offaly football manager John Maughan says it's devastating to lose Niall Darby to a serious knee injury. The road man suffered a suspected cruciate ligament injury in training on Tuesday, days out from that Tailteann Cup semi-final with Westmeath, and Maughan told her own Will O'Callaghan that it's a cruel blow.
I went home to Castlebar on Tuesday night absolutely shattered and distraught for Niall in particular, but for the group that witnessed it, because he's universally liked by all within the group. They see him as being an example, a great example of what an inter-county footballer should be insofar as his lifestyle, his dedication and application, not alone to the Offaly jersey, but also to his club road. He is the ultimate professional. And to think that he won't have the opportunity to play here in Croke Park on Sunday is devastating. And I just feel so sorry for him.
Sort of still on the fence on the Tailteann Cup, Joe, as to how much of a success it has been. It certainly seems from the players' point of view, people have bought into it. I guess this weekend will tell a lot in terms of crowd. It's a good local derby. There's been a good bit of publicity around it, and listen, maybe it's the right level of publicity. It's never going to go head to head with an All-Ireland final, and if the players are happy, well, that's the main thing.
Yeah, I suppose the interesting question is, how do we judge it a success? Is it based on TV viewing figures? Certainly not initially. I wouldn't think so. And the player, for me, the most important marker was, would the players in their respective counties stick around and invest their time in it, or would they all head off to the States and have a great time and have an enjoyable summer and say, yeah, no, not that interested? And it does seem, thankfully, like they've invested in it and they've gone for it. So that's the first part of this thing becoming a success and getting under the skin of the GAA season and becoming a part of the GAA season. Like, I dare say you didn't watch the Tommy Murphy Cup finals back in the day.
Don't ask me for my favourite moment from one, Joe. Don't do this to me.
We should do a top 5 Tommy Murphy Cup moments. And to be fair, I didn't either, and I don't know many people that did. Whereas I feel like the Tailteann Cup has a much is getting off to a much better start than that, and will build on it. So like step one was always getting buy-in from the players and build it, and they will come. And so hopefully the audience start to, it just becomes a bit more part of the rhythm of the season. That said, I haven't, it's a busy time with hurling and football, and there are lots of other sports on as well. So I can't confess to have watched live Tailteann Cup thus far, and maybe that's the reality that who cares about two club games, often just two towns, and there is sometimes with these lesser county matches, it's big for those counties, if not necessarily the neutral. So it's probably still at that stage, if we're being honest, but that's okay.
John Mahon should always be an inter-county manager for the good of the country. Just hearing his voice, I feel at ease.
I know.
Every time I hear John Mahon,
just positive, good energy, great man. Yeah, 100%.
Great for a quote, by the way. That answer was one answer, obviously, just asking about Niall Darby and how he's getting on. It nearly topped out at 2 minutes of just John Mahon in full flow, probably in shorts, let's be honest, and just rolling.
Yeah. Best legs in the GAA? Lee McHale will be close.
It's up there. It's a Mayo-centric award, though, really, isn't it?
I don't know what it is. I was going to wear shorts. I instantly, as I got on the bus into town, regretted not wearing shorts. But maybe tomorrow,
baby.
And show the office that it's not just Mahon and McHale. Murphy can get up there as well when it's the best legs competition. Dear, oh dear. Absolutely. People in South Dublin very upset about the weather currently, that it's cloudy, and Med Éireann are lying to them, and I think we're getting accusations of a conspiracy once again around Med Éireann. So listen,
it's typical Dublin media bias on the side of the weather. Yeah.
So Tottenham are having an interesting transfer window. Again, it was sort of unspoken and unseen because of all the moaning out of Antonio Conte in January about what he didn't get, that they made two brilliant signings from Juventus in Bentancur and Kulusevski, who were outstanding in the second half of the season, and it looks as though they're following up in that.
Yeah, they're packing their midfield, all right. Yves Bissouma has completed a medical at Spurs ahead of a €29 million move from Brighton. The Mali midfielder will be their third signing of the summer, following the arrivals of both Ivan Perisic and Fraser Forster. One note to this: Bissouma arrested in October of last year in connection with an alleged case of sexual assault, and that case still remains open.
They're getting in early. It's very un-Tottenham-like, Joe. There mightn't be much for Antonio Conte to complain about, and maybe they know that if Antonio Conte is not happy in mid-July, he won't have any issues with just jumping ship then. So Perisic coming in, Fraser Forster will obviously be back up. Bissouma gives them something different in midfield, which has always been their problem area over the last 4 or 5 years, really since Moussa Dembele left the club. It's been an area they've struggled, and Bissouma, Højbjerg, Bentancur, they've got quite a few options there.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that case. I have to say that's news to me. So that notwithstanding, and it's not inconsiderable either. Yeah, he's turned out to be a good manager, Conte. Who knew? I mean, as Old Trafford continued to burn because they looked at him and said, "No, he's not for
Football
us."
Too negative for Old Trafford.
Yeah. It's like record number of points and goals when he won the league with Chelsea, but far too negative. For us, it's been very impressive. He arrived in, I think, quite a few of his interviews where he was bemoaning the squad, but not really bemoaning the squad, just being real about the squad. I think they were, kind of sensationalized a touch into, he's going to leave at any moment. This thing's not going to work. And you did worry about Conte, who's so highly strung, and Daniel Levy, but based on how things have turned out, they obviously did give each other assurances. One, I'll stay, but two, you'll give me money to spend. And eventually they've got there. Like, there was something surgically precise about the signings mid-season, the way they both worked out so brilliantly. And then, Perisic, what a brilliant signing that is. And again, like, Conte's worked with him, they know each other. And then Forster is in on a free, nice backup to have. So, look, it does look good there. It really does. And I still will never know how Manchester United overlooked him, but for Spurs, if they can get 2-3 years out of Conte, you feel like they'll go places.
A couple of other bits of transfer news.
Yeah, Arsenal have agreed a €35 million fee with Porto for attacking midfielder Fabio Vieira. The Portugal under-21 captain will sign a 5-year deal at the Emirates after completing a medical tomorrow. There's another medical due tomorrow. That's at Anfield, where Liverpool have agreed a £6.5 million deal for Aberdeen right-back Calvin Ramsey. The 18-year-old will move to Anfield after a breakthrough season in the Scottish Premiership. He's their third signing of the summer, after those of Darwin Núñez and Fabio Carvalho. Jurgen Klopp's side, meanwhile, will begin the next Premier League season away to Carvalho's former side Fulham. Manchester City start the defence of their title at West Ham. Eric Ten Hag's 10 years Manchester United boss will begin at home to Brighton, and Crystal Palace and Arsenal have the honour of commencing the new season on Friday, August the 5th.
All right, not too far away. What, 6 weeks, 7 weeks of a break between the now and the Premier League returning. Why are we so obsessed with coverage and neutrals watching games? The success of the Tailteann Cup is a good competition for the sides involved, who are rightly been given a chance to compete at their level and win a championship. Why do I need to watch Cavan against Sligo for that to be a success? Which I think is what we're saying. I think at some stage maybe the players want, there needs to be the right level of interest that, you know, it's being noticed, it's been given television coverage, the people within their county are talking about it, and there's still a debate on a Thursday, Friday, who should be in the team, who shouldn't be in the team. Whereas I think with the Tommy Murphy Cup, literally nobody cared.
Yeah, and to be fair, I was making that point that it doesn't. I wouldn't judge it in the early years about viewing figures. It's about investment. It's like, are they taking it seriously as a starting point, and then is the local community interested in it and exercised by it and going along to support their county. And I think if you have that and you have big occasions for players who don't otherwise get big occasions, then that's absolutely a success. Like, the GAA should be there to serve the players and serve as many of the inter-county players as possible. So if now suddenly a huge cohort, maybe half of the county teams around the country, have this competition that gives them, like, what's it all about at the end of the day, especially when it's an amateur organisation where they don't have to pay the players and generate a profit? It's about, like, how many nights in our lives we can all come together as a community organisation and enjoy ourselves, and it's about our recreation and our escape, as Joe Brolly always kind of says. And so if suddenly all of these players have 15 more nights, summer nights, across their career where they remember a packed local stadium and everybody there to support them, and a big win or a tough loss, then that's a big success. Absolutely.
Joe, great stuff as always.
All right, fella.
Richie, enjoy the weekend.
Enjoy the golf, lads.
Newsround brought to you with Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. Time for the cash machine.